He's like somebody bought Bill's house.
Yes, yes. It's really nice house too.
Yeah, but,
Like check into it.
No, I've been with Stacy Campbell, and she had. It's a huge tree. Never granted so one off and said. So three feet, I mean, trees, I mean, but other than that, it was just hollow, it was awful.
Got a tree with it.
I don't know.
Thank you.
I don't know what it was.
Mom's house.
I don't know if you're even back used to it.
No, it's big.
I live next to that.
Yeah, she had to get down this.
Right, she works in Okay.
They started painting today.
Oh, you think?
They're in front of it.
Yeah.
It's in our trees.
Huh?
They say who is doing the floor.
No, I painted just. There was just. All in disrepair.
It's crazy how the truck.
She was in Kansas City.
She's 4 or 5 feet out, but she's.
And she's in her eighties.
Time to get.
She fell.
There's some more times.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
Her daughter been up here. And I didn't know if she was a nursing home.
They got some dead branches.
Yeah, that's what she wants to do.
I just got around to calling. I had about 8 years ago and he took some.
You know it?
That's the trees and then injected all his trees.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, you can always tell on her. It's a dream.
Yeah.
It's true. Oh. Oh, yes, that one.
That's what always goes.
Oh, it's definitely like maybe pages. Pages gas.
I got pulled over there too, because I was driving the lights on. It was like 6 hours.
Yeah,
You got pulled over too?
I like a week or two ago, I got pulled over for
Last
not
one
having my
was
working.
I could see the signs.
Yeah.
I wanted to drive downtown so I could see the lady. The lights are flashing. I'm like,
Well, I got pulled over in Miami and I knew he was behind me, but I went a block ahead of where I should have stopped. Cause otherwise I'm gonna get ready for my turn.
Doesn't matter how old you are.
Oh, whoops, oh, sorry, I didn't see back there.
Okay, on that note, it's 5:35, so be in order. You'd like to join me in the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Proclamations, we have none. Moving on to public comments, Sierra. Oh, are you gonna step in to talk about the Humane Society?
Oh, hi, y'all. Since I've been here last time, I'm now the manager of the Humane Society. Phyllis retired. We miss her, but it's working. So, we're here tonight. We've been doing our outreach program, pushing it really hard this year. We have spayed and neutered. I've written out over 215 spay and neuter vouchers for this community, which is huge. I was talking to rescue in Kansas City, and they said that's more than they've done in Kansas City this year. So I was kind of proud of that. Anyway, we've taken in 475 animals this year in the shelter. 170 of them were puppies. And only 38 of the puppies though come from Brown County. So like we've been helping the communities around like Jackson County, Atchison, Nemaha, some of these, and Richardson County too. A lot of them don't. They either have really small shelters or they don't have any resources. So that speaks a lot to our community spaying and neutering, that nearly 38 puppies come from our community. So I don't know, I guess that's why we're here, to see if we could get a little money to keep spaying and neutering in Hiawatha. I'd really like to keep pushing we've been spaying and neutering cats quite a bit in Hiawatha here. And we also started in Sabatha. They just gave us some money to do TNR in Sabatha too. So I don't know what you all think. We would love it. We could get a little money for that.
What's your definition of a
I don't know. Kind of thinking 2,500. Sabatha gave us 5,000. So, and then Horton gave us 1,500. So that's kind of where I went to Horton too.
Do any of the other, I mean, it would sure be nice if any of the surrounding.
We're
counties-
we're going to Nemaha County. You reached out to Brown, didn't you? So we're like we're broadening out to reaching out to the counties too. So we just got our meetings. We're working on setting up meetings with everybody. So, and we've gotten some grants. We got was it 5,000 through?
That was through, oh gosh, it was about that, it'll come to me.
Yeah, we got a $5,000 grant through one of the regions for that, for spaying and neutering, so. For shame, yeah.
And that's what you want funds just for that, not just, I mean, it would go just towards space.
Yeah, that's what we'd like. Yeah, ear tag it for that, for sure, the dogs, like dogs and cats, and it just helps a lot, even helps with the influx coming into the shelter. We're just so loaded, we can't. It's hard to take any more in, so.
I know you guys do a lot of putting it out there to ask for donations. We see that all the time on the Facebook page, and it seems like you have a lot of donors who help with things like that. So I don't know what we do with that, Brad. I don't know. As far as,
And if you wanna do it for something else too, I mean, we can put it in our general fund.
or if this isn't the right meeting to talk about it, we have all this other stuff first, or I don't know what the.
I would think that maybe. Can you do with me on a kind of a proposal on what you're doing, and that way we can bring.
And I can give you some figures and stuff.
And then we can bring.
And we do have a, what's the word? One of the veterinarians has been helping us out. He gives us a discounted price on this spay neutering through, like, by doing our vouchers, so that helps out a lot. So, okay, yeah, I don't know.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You said you got money from Samantha and Horton. Of course, Horton is part of Hiawatha as far as the county, but was this Samantha, the city of Samantha or the county?
The city.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I went down there, I don't know. in the last month,
Okay,
I met with him, so.
and you are going to be in touch with the counties there, and all of the counties
Yeah.
around. Okay, thank you.
This is our kind of our first year really pushing the outreach and it has just blown up. I mean, it's been, I can't believe how receptive people have been to the help. And we have a food bank, so if you know of any families that are struggling month to month, we don't like to do it every single month, but if somebody runs in they lost their job or they're waiting on something to come in, we will help out. As long as they let us spay neuter their pets, then we do help out with temporary food assistance, so
What if the pets are already spayed
We-
or neutered?
we still do.
Okay.
We do, that's just a requirement, we're not gonna feed them, there's some puppies or kittens, so keep feeding, so.
But yeah, just,
Okay.
no,
How do you find homes for all the animals?
We post on Facebook, but that's not, we have Pet Finder. And then we have other online, our animals are actually going all over the United States. We've just sent a puppy to New Jersey, one to Texas. Someone came down from Ohio, they're coming from, our little shelter is being well known in the States and we've been, in the last 2 weeks, we were able to either adopt out or transfer to other rescues or into foster homes, 53 animals in the last 2 weeks. So,
Oh,
even foster homes have been stepping up, I'm proud of our little community, we're doing good. So,
like I said, just get with Brad.
okay,
And then perhaps sometime at the next meeting or whatever, we can, after you've discussed it.
okay, sounds good.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Brad, is there anything you need to add to that?
There is not, no.
Do you have any questions? Brian, entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'm second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Not,
All in favor?
aye. All opposed, motion passed 3-0. Old business, Brad, do you want to talk about First Street Corridor?
Yeah, so at the last meeting, we had agreed to have for a kind of a midnight, kind of an addition to the proposals that had gone out. We had asked for the two SDB Engineering and also BG Consultants to kind of resubmit the bid to say, we need that just in case that those those crossings are needed. We'd like to have that accounted for in the cost. They both did resubmit bids. However, BG Consultants, theirs was a little bit different than what we had originally asked for on the RFP. So if we go to BG Consultants, they wrote a letter to the city of Hiawatha. And they were saying that it's hard for them to have an idea what the project is going to cost, what the unknown of all that project is going to encompass. And so their bid was that they wanted to say that the city would spend no more than $7,500. And that way they could do the survey, they could come up and kind of do a lot of the preliminary engineering and get some of those things done. And SBB sent their bid back. And it was very much in line with what we had set forth in our RFP. They had added in the crosswalk that we had asked them to do. And really, both bids are it's really dependent on what the final design is. It really does come down to the hourly costs of the engineers. But after reviewing both of those bids, I felt that the SBB bid was more in line with the RFP that we sent out. So that is a bid that I recommend that we do.
Well, I happen to agree with BG's letter. I think it makes a lot of sense to only spend $7,500, get conceptual engineering established, figure out where we want crosswalks. And I think they said they would get with KDOT and have them look at it and comment on it. Is that your understanding?
That is my understanding as well, yes.
So I don't know if that means rejecting the bids again or what, but I think I'm following what BG's got in their letter. And I think that's the way to go.
I mean, are we able to do that? Like Tony?
Oh, well, To reject the bids or to go with SVB?
No, reject the bids and I don't know if we can just direct hire BG's our engineer. They've already got some information about surveying on that intersection. They could come up with a conceptual design, figure out where we want crosswalks, get with KDOT for the first round of their buy-in on what we're thinking about doing, and then come up with a cost estimate based on that scope of work. That's my understanding of their letter.
Which
Was
was,
that-
which was also my understanding of their letters. Did you have anything to lay in on here?
I guess if the question is, can we reject all bids? Absolutely. BG is our engineer anyway. That's the consensus the commission proceed forward in that manner. We would rebid anything we consider. Have BG do that as part of their employment with the city.
I'm just not sure why BG didn't.
Because nothing's easy with this right now.
And they're making it more difficult.
I think, yeah, I think Brad's big hold of it on all of this is we really don't know until the project is designed, what even the engineering costs are gonna be. Because I'm not wrong. in
That's
saying
that's a fair statement. It really is, it is gonna all come down to the hourly rates that we have. And so either way that we would go here, and so there's always gonna be a preliminary design in this process. And so that's why, even in the SBB bid, it's only a projected cost, and they're just giving us what they think what they think this project is going to be. Just based on other projects that they've done. They're not exactly sure what the final cost of that is gonna be, that's why it's an estimate. Until they actually get into that project and figure out, okay, all the details that go into that. Then they'll be able to give us a better number as that time goes on. And so when we approve, we're not approving necessarily the final cost of the $49,680, although that's gonna be a recommended action. Really, that's just an estimated cost. Right now, we're just approving to get on board with one of the two engineering firms that have submitted bids. And so, and the reason that I'm where I am as far as where these bids went was that the RFP that we sent out, and my feeling, SBB is the one that actually sent us the most correct bid that follows that RFP. And that's why my recommendation is for SBB.
So you're thinking we can do the same thing with SBB's bid and just cut it off once they get the conceptual design done and then figure out how we're gonna proceed after that.
That's the way that, if I read through their bid, that's the way I read it. It's really an estimation on the hours that they're gonna spend in each phase of that project. And so in my mind, if we get to a point where we have to figure out what the next phase of the funding is going to be, we're not going to spend money on the engineering that hasn't already been done. And so if they don't do the engineering, we're not going to get the bill for that, if that makes sense.
So I make a motion that we approve the request for proposal from SBB Engineering at an estimated cost of $49,680.
I'll second that. It's been moved and seconded to request for proposal from SVB Engineering. Any further questions? If not, Don?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion passed 3-0. Okay, next, moving to new business, I would like to make a motion to open the revenue neutral rate hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to open the revenue neutral rate. Any further discussion? Not done.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion passed 3-0. Okay, at this time, we open up for public comment. Cindy and Richard, I don't know if you wanted to speak now at the revenue neutral, or if you wanted to wait and speak during the budget part of it. I mean, I have your card. Right, wait, but the revenue neutral is, this is just where we're gonna make the decision, are we going to say that we're gonna exceed revenue neutral? So we're not gonna talk budget stuff like what we did last time, it's just, do we agree that we're gonna have to go above what our revenue neutral would be?
Okay, I think it's during the budget.
Okay.
I remember it's split.
Okay. Okay, so there's no other public comment, then I would entertain a motion to adopt the resolution.
2024-07.
Oh, where's it at?
It's in your-
Oh, here we go. We can still talk.
Okay.
I'm just making a motion to adopt resolution number 2024-07.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
You wanna read the resolution, if you would, please?
I would have to find it.
It's in your purple folder.
It's my. And you thought you typed it out well enough for me to pull up. Yeah, that's fine as well. Okay. Resolution number 2024-07, it's a resolution of the city of Hiawatha, Kansas to levy a property tax rate exceeding the revenue neutral rate. Whereas the revenue neutral rate for the city of Hiawatha was calculated as 37.566 mils by the Brown County Clerk. And whereas the budget proposed by the governing body of the city of Hiawatha will require the levy of a property tax rate exceeding the revenue neutral rate. And whereas the governing body held a hearing on September 9th, 2024, allowing all interested taxpayers desiring to be heard an opportunity to give oral testimony. And whereas the governing body of the city of Hiawatha, having heard testimony, still finds it necessary to exceed the revenue neutral rate. Now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the city of Hiawatha, the city of Hiawatha shall levy a property tax rate exceeding the revenue neutral rate of 37.566 mils. This resolution shall take effect and be enforced immediately upon its adoption and shall remain in effect until future action is taken by the governing body. Adopted this 9th day of September 2024 and signed by the mayor.
Can you explain what it means?
Brad, I'll let you do that.
This means that we plan to exceed the revenue neutral rate of 37.566 mils. This means that we expect that our budget is going to be above that number as far as the mill levy rate goes.
And we said before that we will not exceed 42.
That's correct. Yes.
Are there any other questions or discussion? Not done.
This kind of roll call vote, so I will start with you, Dave.
Aye.
Becky,
Aye.
Tony, no.
Motion passed 2-1. At this point, I can make a motion to close the revenue neutral hearing rate. Is there neutral rate hearing? Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close the revenue neutral rate hearing. Any further discussion? If not, Dawn?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Oh, nay,
No.
This is just to close the.
yeah, close it, sorry,
Yeah. Okay, motion passed 3-0. I would now like to make a motion to open the regular budget hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to open the regular budget hearing. Is there any further discussion? If not, Dawn?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
done.
Okay. All opposed?
Motion passed 3-0.
Okay.
Now, at this point, I do have a speaker card because I'm opening this up to public comment and it has both Cindy and or Richard Schilling. If either one of you would like to have comment on the budget, we would. And we would just ask that the commentary is usually around 3 minutes, you know. Or less, or more. No,
That's okay.
I shouldn't say more, should I?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
One thing, I don't understand what goes on anymore with revenue neutral. How you can say you're gonna exceed it before you have a budget. You know, that confuses me totally. I don't know if there's rules the state puts out or what. And all I didn't have time to do the research I wanted to do. But we just got one rental property. Now I'm just gonna go back to 2019. It was in sometime in between 2019 and now is when they changed the revenue neutral. I think it was probably done. We couldn't find the paperwork in 2021. I don't know if that's COVID or if that's when they changed the revenue neutral in about 22. Because we can back up and find that. She usually keeps all the paperwork.
I don't remember when, but it hasn't been that long. I mean, it hasn't been that long ago. It seemed like when they did that.
But on that property, the assessed value was 3,800. And now the assessed value is 9,000. So the assessed value, and I'm not gonna argue stuff with it. You know, as far as that is, but as far as trying to hold, being a landlord and trying to hold the value of rent in this town is starting to kill us. Between insurance, our insurance went up over 100% in the last 4 or 5 years. And we have shopped it out. I mean, we just can't find, nobody's even wanting to really insure rentals real bad. But the insurance companies are really coming down pretty hard on us. But our taxes in 19 ran about $480, and now they're running $970. And that's if we say revenue neutral. If it goes above that, it's going to be more than that. So, you know, and I know it's hard, but I don't know if there's a way in the budget you can find some things you can cut. I mean, I know stuff goes up. But fuel hasn't went up that much and stuff. So if you look back at the average fuel price, it wasn't that much higher than it was in 19. You know, so we start taking out some of those costs that should be. I know the wages and stuff goes up, and like I said, the insurance is going up. But I do know years ago, and I'm not picking on the city but I'm old enough to remember the street crews and stuff used to paint the lines. They used to fill the cracks. They did some of that kind of stuff, which we don't do much of that anymore. I think we're hiring out the painting, and it may be that it's cheaper to hire it out than to do it in-house. I don't know. You know, I'm just asking you guys to take a look and see if you can cut something somewhere, because we can't just keep going up on taxes, because people ain't gonna be able to keep affording it. And either, you know, we're gonna have to go up on rent, and then once you do that, then let's get, you know, and it's sad to say, but the government was never meant to supply a bunch of stuff for a bunch of people. You know, I don't know, because one of the things I want to go back and look at budgets, and I'm not saying, but I'll throw out Parks and Recreation. I don't know if it's funded itself or we're having to put a lot of tax dollars in it. Do we need to look at raising the prices of some of that stuff? I don't know. I'm here to ask questions. So it's something to think about. I don't know. Like I said, I apologize. I was going to have some more time today, and I got busy doing some other things. But yeah, I'm just thinking, take some consideration and see if you can't look at both sides, because it ain't getting no better for anybody, for the city or individuals or anybody.
And I appreciate that you came in and spent the time to express your concerns. Brad, I don't know if there's anything that you wanted to add to this, or
My time is always available. If you ever want to get a hold of me, if you want to come in, we can talk about, go over some of the things in the budget that I mean, I can kind of explain the whole process. I know that we want to be as transparent as possible as where we're spending the money and how that money gets spent and things like that.
I've always admired you, Brad. You do a wonderful job, and I do appreciate what you're doing.
And I'm able to answer a lot of those questions that you might have, you know, really anytime. I'm always available to the public. And so if you ever have any questions about, you know, why we're doing what we're doing and what our future plans are, I mean, I'm more than willing to talk to anybody about that. So do you have any specific questions for me right now that maybe I can answer?
She does. I'm sure.
So, and this probably is gonna be for you, Brad.
Mhm.
So, and maybe all of you, but my question, I asked the county when I went to their meeting also for this. When you guys were figuring your budget and you know you're going over it, we know that all, the appraisals that have gone out, know that they had to have a company come in and they had to redo all the appraisals for everybody in Hiawatha and Brown County. So in Hiawatha alone, have you taken a look at those numbers and did you use the money that you guys are going to be getting in extra with these new values that we're going to be paying our property tax on? Did you take that amount into consideration when you were figuring your proposed budget?
The answer to that is yes, I did. And so, like, with our,
So it still had to go above, it's still gonna have to go above neutral.
we still have
Revenue
to
neutral.
go above revenue neutral because of some of the associated costs and some of the problems that we have in the city. And so just like with our insurance went up 21% this year. And we're going to have we were kind of surprised by how much our employee benefits actually went up this year, which was 70%. We didn't choose that plan. We want something different, but it's still I have to account for how are we going to contend with that in this next in 2025. And so I have to, and so a lot of those questions, especially employee benefits, I won't know till after the first year where that's going to land. I kind of have to say, okay, I had to call in what I did. As I consulted with some of the experienced city managers that I've been in contact, that I was able to contact. I said, okay, well, what's a good number for an increase in employee benefits? I didn't do 70%. 70% is something that we could not do. And so we waited on 10% as far as like say, okay, let's budget for a 10% increase in employee benefits. And let's go out and let's look at some other options that we have. And so that's employee benefits. And so like say in the general fund, a lot of where the increase came from last year is we had a lot of capital improvement projects that, you know, have either been being put off or we wanted to propose, like say Parks and Rec, that was a good example. You know, we had a lot of capital improvement projects in Parks and Rec. And so I had to look at that and I had to say, okay, well, is this sustainable? Is this something that we're even balancing our budget on? Or, you know, like say water and sewer, we have the same types of things. Where those are water and sewer are a rate paid thing, whereas, you know, that doesn't really affect the property tax, although and I'll explain why it did. So in years past, especially with the sewer side, we were transferring about 89,500 from the sewer budget to the general fund just to stay revenue neutral. Now the net effect of that, and we'll actually get to that later on in this meeting, is that the net effect of that is that we're not replacing the equipment that we need to replace within the sewer fund. And so really we need to get that money back. And so a mill's worth roughly with almost a $35 million valuation for the city. 1 mill is worth about $35,000 for the city. And so the net effect of that is if we have to give 90,000 back, it's about 2.5 mils. And so that's 2.5 mils that the general fund that we need to take from somewhere. So we had to look at it. We had to look at it and say, okay, well, is it fair to keep going with the CIP plan that we presented, or do we need to scale that back, which is what I've done. And so that's why I took Parks and Rec back from where they had a mill levy of 11.553. I took them back to 8.553. But on the flip side of that, I had to give those 3 mills back to the general fund to account for the loss of revenue and that they're gonna get from losing that revenue from the sewer side. I'd hope to do that from the water, because water gives money to the general fund as well. I wasn't able to do that this year. I can't make that work. And so that transfer still needs to happen. And my hope is there that we're not going to need to raise rates at a high, we're not gonna need to raise those rates up, and I can explain that.
Are you talking about the city and the sewer,
Yes,
I mean, the water and the sewer rates?
that's correct.
Okay, because I know we have to pay for some of the improvements that have happened over the past few years. But I will tell you, I lost a renter
Mhm,
because we make, most of our rentals, we make them pay the utilities too.
mhm.
She couldn't afford the water bill. And, I mean, between her water, electricity, and the Kansas gas, her utilities were killing her.
Yes,
So she moved to Everest.
yes.
And I lost a really good renter. I have people call me all the time for rentals. And you guys know the housing is very difficult in this town.
Yes,
So what I'm trying to say is, we have to make ends meet also
mhm,
on our side of the business. And so, we have to raise our rental rates, we will. And I don't, I mean, some of these people may not like it, they may have to move out. The thing is I don't know where they're gonna go.
Yeah.
Because we know the housing market here is not good.
Yeah.
I understand the taxes need to be paid so that we can have benefits in this town and we can have services. But I feel like just would like, as Richard said, would like for you all to tweak it. If it's that possible, we ask the county the same question. And the commissioners said they would look at it, and I know they made a few cuts in part of their departments. So I'm just asking you all to take time maybe and look. And the other thing I wanted to ask is, I know the school board is having their meeting tonight, and the same thing that we've asked the county, because they have their meeting during the day. It's hard for the public to be able to come during the day when they're working. I appreciate that you guys all have your meeting in the evening. I really do, because that makes it a little bit easier for us working people. My question is, and I can't be at the school board one tonight, is if you guys can take into consideration of not having your meeting at the same time that the school board is. And I don't know, maybe Becky understands that since she's part of the school. But I know this was asked if the county could have theirs in the evening. I also know there was deadlines that you guys have that have to be done to be met. That has to be published by a certain time, if I remember right.
that's correct.
And
Yes.
so the county is considering moving their date back. I mean, as soon as they find out, because I think I understood that they found out like sometime in June what the rates were gonna have to be. And so they said that they probably needed to work on this sooner. I know the city has gone through several changes here, especially with the city manager. And I do want to say you guys have got a great one here.
Yes, ma'am.
I so appreciate Brad and everything that he has done. I appreciate everything y'all do. And I want to thank you guys for listening to us.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
One quick question I forgot to ask. I'm gonna call it delinquent or unpaid taxes. Has it went up more in the last couple of years? I know in the county, they said theirs went up 5%. So I didn't know how you handle that or
From what I've seen, as far as like the real delinquency rate that I've been seeing goes year to year, I've been seeing that we've been holding steady about that 4 to 5% on delinquency. And so when I see those property tax revenues actually come in, I like to look at the actual number at the end of the year. And then I can calculate, for the easily what that's been. Now, this year, as of right now, we still have more of the year to go. The last time I checked, we were at 9% for this year. We will get more money throughout the year, and so I will know by the end of the year what our delinquency rate has been. But, you know, if I would say if this has been a trend in other places, I would expect that it may well be a trend here too. I don't have any numbers to prove that right now.
Okay, I just thought I'd ask, like I said, we asked the county the same thing, so, and they said they were a little higher, right? But again, it may be because of the year, you know, by the end of the year, maybe they'll collect.
Yeah, right now we're about 4% higher than normal. We will be getting more property tax revenue come in as time goes on. And I expect that number to be lower. How much lower? I don't know.
Again, thank you guys for your time. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard.
Brad, did you want to comment on some of the CIP things that we cut this year,
Yeah, so
or next year? I mean,
especially with the CIP, what I have in the budget for this year, I know that we had, well, you know, I've tried to leave enough money in some of these budgets to do at least some improvements. And so what I've done is we've cut Parks and Rec CIP over, I believe, more than half. And so I've left, right now I have 60,000 in that budget for CIP. And so that CIP is spread over Parks, Recreation, and the Fisher Center would be as well. So that'd be over the three. And so that'd be anything that we had with our parks as far as like playground equipment, things like that. Anything that's involved with parks. Fisher Center would be building improvements. Anything that she has budgeted. And really, you know, as far as the recreation goes, there's not a lot of CIP in recreation normally. Normally those are programs that are usually about self-funded. And so when she does a program, the revenue that she projects for that is related to the same expense. And so really the net effect to the taxpayers is really kind of a wash. A lot of our expense in recreation is going to be the salaries. There's going to be some umpires and things like that. And that's an expense to the city because the baseball and softball have their own associations. And so they collect all that revenue for it, which they also give back out. So it's really kind of wash for them. So we have some expense there, you know, concession expense in that fund. And so we've cut that one down. The general fund, what we've done there, we've taken that fund from where we were well over $200,000 in CIP. And I've taken that down to $30,000 in CIP. That $30,000 is going to be earmarked for public safety only. And so administration, you know, as far as the city hall goes, we have none of that money earmarked for city hall at all. I want all that money earmarked for really police and fire. That's really my focus on those two. That has to be a public safety type thing. We have to at least let them have some money to be able to make some improvements, officer equipment, for example, anything like that. You know, things that we need to look at. And so those are the two budgets that really greatly affect the bill levy. Those are the two that really greatly affect. Although in our utility funds as well that don't affect the bill levy, we've also cut those down significantly as well. And so we were able to make some big improvements this last year as far as some of the equipment went, some of the things that we needed to do. I cut back, and so really what I wanted to bring back to the budget was balance. Was what I wanted to do this year was balance that budget. We need to be, you know, we need to be making sure that we're being, you know, responsible with our money. And sometimes you have to spend it, you know, you have fund balance and you have to do what you have to do. Especially when you need equipment and things like that. Sewer side, I know we needed a new sewer jet, for example. We were able to pay for that without having to do a lease purchase that cost us interest in the long run. But and so we were able to use some of that to our advantage, but we can't do that year to year. So we really needed to be responsible with that. We've cut back on our CIP, especially in sewer. That's been well cut. That's been cut by really almost 3/4. Water was cut by, and more like, you know, 3/4 as well, as far as the capital improvement went. Water, really, the only thing that we have for next year is going to be tap machines. And so that's gonna be about $12,000. Because what I expect from that is that with the new lead and copper rule, which is the EPA regulations that keep coming down, and that's really what we're grappling with our utility side. I mean, that's really driving where we're going. And so I know that's one of the things that we have next year. That's the only thing we have next year outside of the funds that we put aside for our sewer, our liner for our lagoon, and our reserve that it's an equipment reserve that we have for the water. And other than that, sewer side, we have a camera, and I'll get to that with the fiscal sustainability plan. But we need to be investigating where the problems are in this town as far as our sewer system goes. So I have it in there to buy a camera, and also this next year I have it in there to put a VFD on the country club. Because what that causes, we sell effluent water. And so, but what the VFD, what we have about 120 PSI out there is what we have. And so it's slammed shut. It's causing a lot of equipment problems on our side, as well as their side. And so really having a VFD that's a slow start, slow close, that's going to help quite a bit. So utility side, that's what we're looking at here. As far as the rest of the CIP goes, nothing in lights. We have a fire station that we're trying to fund, but the fire station, the expected cost of that is going to be fairly high. So we need to look at that as a project, and we need to come up with other funding mechanisms for that.
Next, I'm looking at I don't.
A variable frequency drive. So what a VFD is instead of a normal motor when it starts, it has a motor starter on it. And so it has basically a big capacitor. And so it's a hard start on the motor, and it spikes up your amps. And so what a VFD is it takes a frequency and it ramps that frequency up to, like, say, that motor normally goes at 60 hertz. It's going to ramp those up slowly in order to kind of soften that start. Saves with electricity, saves with equipment wear and tear. They're really good things, but they're fairly expensive. But they actually pay for themselves in the long.
You can't take the public works guy out of the city.
Yeah.
It's something that it is one side that I know quite a bit. So it's
He's like, I can do that. This is easy.
It makes sense when you use just, when you use acronyms.
yeah, I apologize. I'm so used to using those acronyms that I apologize. That's my fault.
Can you imagine what our staff meetings are?
No, I worked for the government for 31 years, and the one thing we always did in our staff meetings was to say, when you're working with the public, try not to use the acronyms. It's so easy to do, but when you bring somebody in or you're dealing with customers and they don't know what the acronym is, and they're looking at you with you're.
No, I 100%
You
agree.
realize, oh, I'm sorry, you need to explain it. So thank you for.
I 100% agree with you, and I will keep that in my mind for the future.
And Brad, didn't you say kind of looked at historical, I mean, since about 2020, and with the mill levies in, we still are trending the right direction, correct?
We are trending the right direction as far as what the city of Hiawatha's mill levy has been since the 2020 budget. You know, at that time, we had a mill levy of 53.012 is what our mill levy was for the proposed 2020 budget year, which is actually approved. And so those are real numbers. I got those from the you can look those up from the Brown County, you can get those numbers. The tax levy sheets is where you get those from. And so that was also the time of Parks and Recreation tax. And so when that 4% sales tax, which was replacing that sales tax that we had for the Post Landing project. So when that sales tax came online, that brings in roughly about $200,000 a year. And so we dropped that next year, we went from 53.012 to a total mill levy of 47.1. In 2020's budget, we had about 13.76 mills that were allocated towards Parks and Rec at that time, or really it was just Parks and Fisher Center, because recreation was separate. And so in that next year, we went from right around 13.76 to right about 5.522 mils for Parks and Rec and the Fisher Center. And the reason for that was because I believe, anyway, I can't prove it, but it makes sense to me, was we had about a half a year's worth of tax revenue from that. So we're able to offset some of that mill levy increase that we otherwise would have had with that extra about $100,000 that we got from that income. And so we're now down to where the proposed budget is 40.845 mils. And so we've been down about, that's about 12.16 mils is what we're looking at over that same period. And which this year, the Parks and Rec budget is 8.553. And so, or what's proposed anyway. And so that's really kind of where we're looking at as far as the millage rate goes from the 2020 budget to the proposed 2025 budget year. So we've gone down roughly about, like I said, 12.16 mils.
Just curious, does the Fisher Center still have, I don't know, is there like a fund that was designated for expenses for the Fisher Center from the people that, does that make sense?
I don't think there was ever.
No, that fund is, there isn't.
I'm just curious. I will tell you on the Fisher Center, I know it probably does, they've done a great job of decorating there, and it looks great in there. But I have noticed the cracks, there are cracks starting in the ceiling and steps that I know you'll eventually have to take care of.
Yes.
The Fisher Center's used quite a bit. And the only other thing I could say is some of those stalls, the bathroom looks great, but some of those stalls are very tight when you're trying to get in and shut the door.
Okay, I think we're starting to squirrel a little bit.
I know, but I just thought maybe.
And the thing is, that's a great thing though, I mean, and also it's
just like improvements.
Right.
These are just things I'm thinking
yeah,
of.
and this is a great thing, and I really do encourage you to come in and talk to Brad, or come in and talk to, stop by the Fisher Center and talk to Stacey Jasper. So I'm not meaning to shut this down, but like I said, we're trying to kind of keep focused on what we're doing, but absolutely.
So it sounds like to me, he's actually looked at it and done
Yeah.
some.
Yeah, so like I said, you can always come in and speak with them, and then you won't feel rushed. We won't have business we have to get done, and then you'll feel even more hurt than now. So I hope that makes sense. I don't wanna, okay. So I'm not-
Can I?
Yeah. Right, that's fine. Yes, Brian.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, last year we gave Parks and Rec another $150,000. We say that we cut their budget almost in half, but we did drop it about $60,000. If you look at the last 4 or 5 years, what we've done with the budget for Parks and Rec, and I don't want to take anything away from them, what they do is great, but it comes with a big expense to the taxpayer. I'll go back to even say when the sales tax was passed, I myself was under the impression that was going to 100% fund Parks and Rec. Whether I was wrong on that interpretation could be, but over the years I've got into it even more, and since 2017 we've at least tripled their budget. And I think in times like this, we had a 16.4% raise last year. We're looking at a 9% raise this year. I don't want any part of being with the commission that raised taxes 2 years by 25%. And at some point we have to start looking at, we need to reduce some budgets. And our water plant is a very high priority. It's probably one of the biggest complaints that I get. The roads is one of the biggest complaints that I get. And our Parks and Rec department is getting over $100,000 more than our roads department. So we've been funneling money into this program, which is great, but at some point it's got to slow down because we've been pulling money out of general fund, we've been pulling money out of water to help fund Parks and Rec. Well, now it's caught up to us and we can't sustain it anymore because general fund and the water plant expenditures have came up. And this is just the truth of it. And sometimes when you have budget problems, you've got to make cuts. And I think that's where we're at, you know. Last year, again, we gave them $150,000. That's a big bump for 1 year. And we're saying, well, we cut it almost in half. Well, we cut $60,000. We cut it almost in third. I think to a minimum, we should take back the $150,000 that we gave last year and get things back on track. And that at least puts Parks and Rec in line with our roads department. I mean, our roads department we've got curb and gutter that are non-existent. We have roads that look like potholes and they look like Afghanistan. And these are the priorities that people have spoke up about the most. We also have a street light that we're going to be looking at trying to repair. And we've got to start looking at where we can cut. Just because we've done it this way for so many years, you know, I've also done some research on our police department. We have about 9 officers. Sabetha, when I looked into that, they have 5. So these are all things that we need to start looking into of where we can cut. I think that we've added a lot, and we've had, quite honestly, no way to pay for it for a while. And so we've got to start pulling back the reins in several departments and get things even a little bit more. I mean, I've had conversations with my wife even that I have no desire to upgrade houses in the town just because it's going to cost me $500-600 a month in taxes. So we need to be mindful of that this year, and at least go for half of what we're looking at, and be courteous, because we're still looking at, in the last 2 years, raising our taxes by 20%. And that makes me sick to even say, but I honestly look at the budget and I do see that we have problems, and we don't have much of a choice, but a 9% hike right now it's not fair to anybody.
So with the Parks and Rec budget, especially, when the sales tax was passed, I believe that was 2019. And so the way that the ballot question read was, do you want, this isn't exactly how the ballot question was, but the ballot question was, do you want a 1/4 cent sales tax in the city of Hiawatha to make improvements to parks and recreation? Is that true? Andy, do you remember?
It was marketed, though, to lose, that they were going to lower property tax.
And we have lowered property tax.
So that's the way the ballot question did read, was, do you authorize the sales tax for that particular purpose? That's how a sales tax question is.
For improvements in parks and recreation. Yep. And so if we cut out CIP altogether in parks and recreation, we're not making any improvements in parks and recreation at all.
And then that's going against what the ballot question was.
And so when I put the budget together, I was trying to weigh that ballot question in with the entirety of the budget. And so that's why I've done what I've done. And so when we've gone down, I mean, like I said, for the 2020 budget, we were at one point, you know, roughly 13.76 mils. That adds in the 0.814 that we had for rec at that time. This year we're down to 8.553. And so we have seen a mill levy decrease associated with this.
But evaluations have gone up, and so the mill's not as much. So yeah, you can say that it's decreased, but the funding has not.
But then also at the same time, weren't we combining a whole bunch? I mean, it used to be that we had Fisher Center, there were a lot of separate funds, and now we put them all together. If I remember, because we talked about this during our budget work sessions, that's not the same budget as what we were talking about in 2020. Now we have Parks and Rec and everything, pool, Fisher Center, everything in the same.
Full separate.
Okay, Chris. The Fisher Center, I mean, I thought that's one of the things we talked about during our budget session, work sessions. That
You are,
the Parks and Rec budget was different.
you're correct, but they were using general fund and monies from other places to cover Parks and Rec. And so now those other departments are needing these funds. And so now we're having to come up with the money over the last 2 years. It's just the truth of it.
Yeah, all I know is that I've really tried to weigh both sides of that here. And so I tried to weigh what the people voted on in 2019 as far as what I thought that the budget could bear for this next year. And so that's why I proposed what I proposed. If further cuts need to be made, then it's certainly something that we could look at. But as far as actual cutting CIP altogether in Parks and Rec, I mean, it'd be tough to do that, just knowing that what the citizens voted for in 2019.
Okay, well, did we lower the mills in 2019?
We lowered the mills in 2020 accordingly, yes.
Right, and it was because of the tax. And
It was
those
because of the
flyers,
tax, yes.
it was what?
Yeah, so because of the tax.
Right.
We went to 5.822 that year.
Okay, so we are openly admitting that we lowered property tax because we passed the sales tax. And because that's the way it was marketed, that it was a trade.
It wasn't a direct trade though, no.
It was
It was advertised that it was marketed that we're gonna drop 3 to 6.
right, and we cut it almost precisely within $3,000 of what the sales tax brought in. And so that's direct swap, in my opinion.
Not mill wise, but
What's that?
mill wise, I'm not sure that's true.
It was $3,000 is what we exactly cut it. Mill wise, the mills adjust, but dollars for cents, it was a $3,000 cut in their wages when we reduced our mills. So we directly swapped our property tax, lowering it for that property tax or for that tax.
Yes, that's true, but I'd also like to point out that it's not what the people voted for on the sales tax question itself.
You are correct, but the way the city sold it was that we will reduce your property taxes. And if I have to post a bunch of flyers and news articles on the paper, on Facebook after this to show that this is the way it was marketed, I can do that. But that's exactly the way the city marketed this, regardless of how it was on the ballot.
Actually, how it was on the ballot is the legal question here. We're legally obligated to uphold what's on that ballot.
Okay, well, so then we just introduced the CIP last year. Okay, so how are we doing it before then?
But the way that Mike was doing that before was he would go through the budget, he would figure everything up, he would say you have X amount of dollars to spend. That's how we do that. And so let's say, okay, after you pay for everything that we have to pay for, you have $25,000. Give me a
so what I'm saying is when we passed this tax, we didn't even have the CIP plan. And so right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so we can still withhold what we're saying by saying that, yes, you passed this 0.25% tax, but we're almost taking above what we promised, because we can still go back to the way we were doing it before and do all the things and use that money to do great things for Parks and Rec. See what I'm saying?
No, not with the associated costs that we have now today. We can't do that. We can't go back. We can't go backwards where we were.
Okay, so explain to me then what's changed.
Personnel cost, insurance, and all the associated costs that goes along with it.
And the addition of Parks and Fisheries.
We didn't. We did have a capital expenditures funds in each one of the several
budget items.
That's correct, yes.
What's changed, what's
We didn't
changed,
call it- We didn't call it we didn't call it a capital investment plan. We just had capital expenditures in each one of those accounts back when we passed this. So what's changed is what we call it. Because
Well,
now we have a capital investment plan that's citywide.
what's changed is we're not moving money from other funds to cover things. That's what's changed. And that's my point that I'm trying to get through.
And we've simplified the accounts too, because it used to be a lot more than we have today. So
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it, but we are not moving money over to cover Parks and Rec anymore. And that's my whole point. We're moving money out of the water department. We're moving money out of the general fund to cover that for years. And now we're trying to not do that because everybody else needs money and we're going to raise taxes to replace all of that. And that's,
we're
I mean,
not going to raise taxes.
We never moved money from water. The only money that from water that we've ever moved to Parks and Rec has been from the pool.
It's not Parks and Rec.
And so we that's just a continuing thing that we've always done.
okay, but
The pool is a separate fund, that's not Parks and Rec. And,
But
we lose money on the pool every year, and we know that, but that's an amenity that we provide for our city. I mean, yeah, if we wanted to cut the pool, there's.
the pool's a totally different fund. I'm not even talking about that,
Exactly.
but we have moved monies from utilities into the general fund.
Yes, that's correct.
And then the money from the general fund gets moved over to Parks and Rec. And that's happened for years. No matter how you want to say it,
We allocate bills towards Parks and Rec. That's how it gets funded. That's part of their funding.
But we don't receive water.
We don't move money from the general fund to Parks and Rec to make that work.
okay. I don't believe that to be true, but
Okay.
maybe not
Right.
this year or the last year, but in years before we have.
Well,
Is that correct?
No, not from the budgets that I've seen. When going through the line item budgets, which I did line item by line item this year, to see what the associated expenses were, I did not have any kind of transfer from the general fund to Parks and Rec for any purpose.
Were employees maybe in a
Except to
different,
except to the pool, that's it.
were maybe employees not under Parks and Rec then?
The employees used to be under the general fund at that time.
Okay, so there's your general fund. Now you've moved them over to Parks and Rec, and there's the problem.
But we're also moving $74,000 of that fund into employee benefits to deal with the associated employee costs.
Okay, you're still moving people
That
out.
we weren't doing before.
You're
And so,
still moving,
yes, that's worth a little over $2 million there. And so we're moving that money from the Parks and Rec direct associated costs with the personnel into the employee benefits fund to pay for those associated employee benefits. We weren't doing that before in Parks and Rec. If we wanted,
this is exactly what I'm saying, Brad.
Brad, go ahead and finish what you're saying. I guess.
I don't know how to maybe I have finished what I'm saying. And I really think.
I like what you said before, is that this budget this year is about balance, that, I mean, you're right, we have had turnover, we've had a little bit of chaos, and now we're working on getting ourselves balanced, we're working on filling holes that we've had that's created with this budget. And still keeping the mill levy lower than what we were, years ago. So.
But our evaluations have doubled, so that's irrelevant.
And we've said more than one too, the expenses that everybody's facing. I mean, the city is compounded with that too, with all the increase in anything we want to do as far as improvements or repairs or anything. Insurance, all that stuff. So yes, property valuations have gone up, but so have expenses.
And so in that same period where property valuations have gone up that much, we dropped our mill levy almost, like I said, 12.16 mils in that period. not all that's due to Parks and Rec. By today's standard, for a mill, that'd be worth about 6 mills. And so, yes, part of that was because of Parks and Rec. That would make it so we still dropped over 6 mills in that same time period. As far as our budget goes, our city budget.
in mills,
In mills.
which evaluations have gone up, so you're still taking in the same amount of money.
We were revenue neutral for multiple years as well during that time period.
So then that was less. If we were revenue neutral.
Yes, it's just taking in the same amount of money as he did the year before. Yes, that's correct.
So when I say less, it means that our expenses continue to go up, but we're bringing in the same amount.
That's correct.
And that's,
Well, our expenses are going up because I still believe there's other ways that the budget can be cut. I've made other suggestions and it's gone on deaf ears and I've never gotten a direct answer. The budget can still be cut in my opinion.
and that's what I thought our budget workshops were for the last 2 ones that we went to we had. You know, the last one we had, we were discussing work and Brad presented everything and maybe that was a time to discuss where we could cut. I don't know where else we could cut.
I've been saying it since Tish was, what was she? Well, I'm sorry,
City clerk.
city clerk. I've said it every budget session. And after a while, you know, when it falls on deaf ears, when nobody wants to listen to you, you get sick and tired of saying it. And I have brought it up at meetings. Maybe I didn't at the last one, but okay. What was the population of Hiawatha 7 years ago? Around 3,600 people, 37. Let's say it was 38. What is it today? Around 3,800. I remember when we had 3 people on staff. City administrator, city clerk, and an assistant. I also remember when there wasn't computers. And when there wasn't, what do you call them, cell phones. They had to do everything by hand. Write it down with this and this. Now we have, what, 5 or 6 downstairs and a helper? Why? Same amount of water bills going out, except now with computers, all they have to do is click, 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 click. They don't even have to write out the water bills. Click, 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 and a machine does it for
That is absolutely not true.
Well,
There's a tremendous amount of work that goes into
I don't,
getting water bills out every single month.
I'm not talking about just water bills. I'm talking about what goes on downstairs. The same thing happened 7, 8 years ago.
All I know is
But we don't have, what do we have? 3 men on the sewer department. But when they get in trouble, when they need help, they have to call from the water department. I think it's great to train and know what the other department's doing so you can help. But they need help. The water department has their own problems. Let's get somebody for the sewer department. That's what we need. We don't need 5 people, 4 people down in there. And it has nothing against anybody that's working down there.
currently,
When our girls downstairs are making more money than our police officers that are out there putting their lives on the line every single day, that I have a problem with. Do I have a problem with them making the same amount of money that other cities administration ladies are making or gentlemen? Absolutely not. But when they're making more money than our police officers, yes, I do. And for that, I'm sorry. That's where I think cuts can be made. We don't, that's my opinion and I'm sticking to it. Do we need to buy new police cars? No. You can lease them. It's a lot cheaper. And with that, I'm done.
Well, I'll also add that, you know, this will be my 4th budget year that I've been through this, and these budget sessions that we go through, I've never felt like we've had any say in what this rate's going to be. It's just, this is what it's going to be. And then if you don't like it, you come to this hearing and you fight about it like the public. And that's just the truth of it. I don't know who sets it, whether it's, you know, the mayor or I don't know, but I've never felt like I've had any real say on what we're spending money on and what we're not spending money on until this budget hearing.
I mean, we had 2 budget sessions, work sessions before that. I mean, I know that you missed the second one because you weren't in town, and I have never felt like my voice hasn't been heard.
What?
But do I trust my department heads who start working on this way before? Absolutely. And do I feel like they're just throwing out frivolous numbers because they want to, you know, we keep picking on, for some reason, Parks and Rec is the one that keeps getting slammed tonight, but how long has Stacy Jasper said been approved to buy a truck and she continued to not get it? And so I don't know that I've never not been heard. Now, if you choose not to say anything, you can't fix that. And Brad is asked every time, before the budget work sessions, sent out a survey. What are your concerns? What do you think we need to look for? You chose not to fill it out. Can't help that.
I don't think that's.
So anyway, he gives us the opportunity.
That's not true.
Before every meeting, but at the budget session. Anything else you guys want to know? Any other questions you have? What are there other places you think we could cut? Did I say anywhere to cut? Absolutely not, because like I said, I trust the city administrator and the department heads are coming up with something. I mean, I can't. Opportunity is put in front of you, and then you wait and say, well, I can't say anything until the budget hearing.
I've been very vocal in the budget meeting.
And that's fine.
And I did fill out
we're
the
gonna
survey.
agree.
So I don't know, but what I'm saying is you can say all you want, but nothing happens. Nothing changes.
But it is a commission's decision to vote on if we approve the budget. Like after we were done, Brad said, this is what we're going with. And we all agreed. I said, you weren't there, but Tony, you agreed. I agreed. Evans, Dave.
What we agreed is not to exceed that number.
Right. But then we had the meeting where we went over everything. This department, this is what the budget is. This department, this is what the budget is. Everybody okay with it? This is the budget I'm going to present at the budget hearing, and we all said yes. Let's go.
And then I just keep hearing, we're just saying that we're not going to exceed this number, and I voted against it every single time too.
The way that this operated was, I'm the one who set up the budget workshops. I put together the budget based on the direction that I was given, based on the information, based on what I thought was fair as far as to move forward with. And so I asked for direction during those budget meetings as to where the budget needed to go. At the last budget work session, I went through that fund by fund to see where that was going to be. Okay, and I was asking for input that entire time. At any time, we could have said, okay, well, you know what? maybe this time we need to cut a little bit more out of, we could have done that at that time. We could have done that and have that ready for tonight. But after that budget work session, we had decided that a number of 40.845 was where we were going to advertise.
That was for publishing.
That was for publishing, but that was also the working budget at that time.
Yes,
Hmm.
I will say, I have to say that Brad has answered all my questions except for the staff. For the, you don't know, I don't know.
I just, as far as,
But you were honest about that.
as far as the staff goes, and I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, you've always been honest.
And I'll be honest with you now, I believe that there is more work that exists in the city of Hiawatha now than we have people to do the work. And so right now we have a tremendous amount of challenges that we face. Whether it's code enforcement, which is one of the reasons why one of those people were hired. Whether it's utility billing or the assistant city clerk. I know that was created to really kind of help get a lot of those, get a lot of that burden off of the city clerk, especially on the accounts payable side. So really, that's what the assistant city clerk was intended to do, was to take care of a lot of the accounts payable. That way it frees up the city clerk to do a lot of the other work that they need to be focusing on. And so I believe there's plenty of work in the office to justify the amount of people that we have. And I'm okay, if you disagree with that, I'm fine with that, and I value your opinion.
And
Well,
I value yours.
I will also say we've added a ton of money into code enforcement when before that was up to the police officers that they took care of that.
There's so much more we need to do with code enforcement, just when you even drive to this town.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
what
I
I'm
hate
what I'm
back-
saying is the police officers are out patrolling already, driving around. They handled it before, and we've added a code enforcer of $80,000, probably with benefits. You know, these are all things that we've added, and we've not had a definite plan of how we're going to pay for it, and it's just catching up to us. So these are all things that could be looked at cutting, but like I said, I just brought that up and it instantly hit resistance with you about just one thing. And that's basically how all of these budget meetings go is, look, this is what we've decided and this is what we're going to do until we come to this hearing. And then we've got to go to battle for it. And it's unreasonable. You know, Bill always said it at revenue neutral or slightly higher. And now we've got a new mayor and now we're looking at 25% in 2 years.
I don't know, that's just on the mayor's shoulders, Brian. Thank you for that.
I couldn't hear you, excuse me.
I said, I don't know if that's on the mayor's shoulders. We are a commission. We all have the same vote. We all have the same opportunity to speak. So
This is what
yeah.
I'm saying though. I don't feel that there's any voice during these budget hearings. It's just, this is what we're proposing and let's figure out what we're going to spend the money on. And
so how would you propose we change it then? What would you do different?
I just told you several things.
I
See, that's where I feel our voices go unheard.
I mean, I didn't. I guess I'm trying to have a hard time understanding when I hear Brad continue to say, what else do you want? What else, other input? And then as a commission, we decide. So that's, I don't know, I guess I'm just not getting it. Maybe I'm just, brain's not working. I don't know what else Brad can do.
I will just,
Who is it?
I think that maybe we have deaf ears, all of us. I think you're sad. I think Dave's sad. I know I am, and I think Brian is. And we're not willing to budge. We're not willing to open our ears and listen. I'll admit it. Will anybody else?
I guess my ears listen to
You
what,
could just ask Brian, so what do you want us to do?
because
We just sat here and said.
you're saying where we need to cut, but I'm saying that,
Isn't that what we need to do?
but I'm saying that I don't know how Brad can get clear input from us. I don't know what he can do differently, because when it all comes down to it, it's our city administrator who we hired to do this job. And he's the one that goes through all the numbers, meets with all the department heads, presents it to us. And so, I mean, good or bad, we keep saying how, Brad's a great one to be in the seat, he's done a great job, and so I choose to believe that as well, and so I trust what he's presenting to us. I also trust that he's not going to try and pull things over on anybody.
I don't think that he is.
So, because I'm never gonna have the same level of knowledge on a budget that Brad is or Don is. I mean, I'd be silly to say that I will. Dave probably has a good measure of it, but I don't. So I trust the
Why
people
Dave? Why?
because of his experience. I mean, his work background. I mean, you have a different work background than he does. Tony, I'm not saying this to insult you.
Well, it did.
Well, I did not intend it. I'm sorry. So anyway, my whole point is, I'm trusting the people who have been working on the budget and know what needs to be done.
I still like you, Dave.
Yeah. So,
I think the intent of the workshops was to iron out these ideas that we all have. Maybe we failed at it, I don't know. We all had comments, Brian wouldn't nail it.
For Brian's part, he did make his intentions clear to me during that process. And so he made sure that he had input to me as well. So he has been engaged in this entire process. I do want to say that at least.
Thank you.
okay. Do we have any other discussion? If not, I would make a motion to adopt the, wait, what did I do? No,
No, you can't. The city failed to pass a resolution to exceed revenue neutral. There was 2 votes yes, 2 votes doesn't carry. We can't exceed the revenue neutral rate. Proposed budget on the table is for 40 mils, which exceeds the revenue neutral. So there's not a budget to present tonight that meets the revenue. You can't adopt the budget that's presented.
So we have to see revenue.
Yes. So I would recommend giving Brad a chance to come back with a revenue neutral budget and pass the budget at a later date. We have to do it before the 20th because that's what the day that needs to be certified to the county clerk. Well, 2 to 1 doesn't carry it.
I guess I just was thinking we had the 3. So. Wow.
So I think you can go ahead and close the public hearing. I would ask the commission to consider a special meeting by the end of this week so we can present. Brad can get a chance to present the commission with the revenue.
And if we have a special meeting, is there any way we could discuss again the revenue neutral, or that's it? So
You saw us scrambling and talking.
I did, and I didn't know what's going on. So basically, we just have really put the city in a huge hole.
We can't go over revenue neutral.
Wow. I apologize to the city because this is gonna hurt. And this is gonna be hard to come back from. And we have all been through small towns that don't do the things that need to be done, and they just exist. And wow, okay, Can I make a motion to adjourn the regular budget hearing and return to a regular city commission meeting?
Second.
Been moved to second, any further discussion? If not,
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
I
So then we don't even mess with the fiscal sustainability plans.
Yeah, that's separate. I would, before you move on though, please set a date sometime before September 20th, so we can adopt the budget. We've had the required notice, we've had the required hearing under notice for revenue neutral. We've had the required budget hearing as posted, so we dispense with those necessities. And we can have as many meetings as we want to before the 20th to adopt the budget, but we can't adopt the budget that's been presented tonight. And until there's been a budget that meets that revenue neutral rate, we can't adopt. So we're gonna have to adopt. So it'll be a special meeting just for the adoption.
But
I will defer to Brad. I don't know how long it's gonna take him to put something like that.
is a week to.
It's a big deal. Brad's not gonna be around. We can do it this week.
If we could do it like Wednesday, I can have this.
By the 11th?
I can have this done by Wednesday, yeah.
He's talking about, we talked,
No, I'm talking about
like 2 days from now, like Friday.
2 days from now, Wednesday.
We hope that we'd have a full commission here.
Thursday, Thursday or Friday. We get Friday.
Are we talking evening or morning or?
What time works? Brian?
Yeah.
Any availability on Friday?
Should work.
Okay. Any time work for you?
Yeah.
Okay,
Talk about 7:30, 7:45.
let's do. Let's do 7:45
Is that in the morning?
in the morning. What does that look like your time?
Yeah, that's 5:45 in the
Are
morning.
you sure? Are we?
How long do you think that it'll take?
We're either gonna,
It's going to be.
yeah, we're either gonna adopt the budget at revenue neutral, or I don't know. I mean, that's really the option we have.
It's
Okay.
going to be pretty straightforward at that point. When I get a budget worked up, which I will do, I'll get a budget worked up and I'll get that sent to commissioners to review. To get input from you and see what your thoughts.
That'll work then. I'm up.
I'll have that done by tonight.
That will work.
7:45.
So, yeah, so.
So we need a motion.
Motion.
I'd like to make a motion. We have a special meeting on the Friday the 13th at 7:45 a.m.
Second.
Move to second, any further discussion? Not,
All in favor?
Aye.
all opposed, motion passed 4-0. Okay, moving on to the fiscal sustainability plan.
So the fiscal sustainability plan, what this is, we're going through the project that we're currently under for the Northwest Station Sewer Project. It's a lagoon that's being used to impound the water, the I&I water that we have, inflow infiltration water that we have, the problem that we have in the city of Hiawatha. And so what this is, before 50% completion of the project, this is so that KDHE would disperse the load. So we had to come up with a plan, that a fiscal sustainability plan that we have gone through the draft to KDHE to prove that we're doing the things that we need to do as far as budgeting goes, to account for the equipment replacement and things like that. And so we have been, working with the sewer department over the years, we've had a pretty good idea of what this was going to be, some of the things that we need to be doing. And so one of the, two of the things that the plan called for was that we need to be flushing it, we need to be doing some preventative flushing from our sewers, which is why we bought the new sewer jet. That's one of the big reasons for it. Also, one of the things that we wanted to have was a sewer camera, which could really help us get we need to be doing a certain percentage of that every year too, to find the problems, which was also budgeted for in 2025. We needed to up, which I did in this next year's budget, needed to up the equipment rate, it's what we use to replace, it's the equipment replacement fund that we have. We used to be at 10,000, I budgeted 50,000 for that. We're already budgeting $30,000 for sewer line maintenance. And so there's really not a net impact to our current budget as far as this fiscal sustainability plan goes. This is just so that KDHE will disperse the loan as it's necessary, where there's no expectation here that KDHE is going to want us to look at any kind of rate increase for this project. By budgeting what we've done, by some of the planning that we've been able to do with the sewer department, we've been able to kind of get ahead of this a little bit. And so all we need to do here is approve this fiscal sustainability plan. That way KDHE can disperse the loan that we have for the project that we're doing.
I make a motion that we approve the fiscal sustainability plan for the wastewater lagoon project and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign the necessary documentation.
Second.
Moving in second, any further discussion? Not,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion passed 4-0. Moving on to communications, anything you wanted to add? Right?
No, nothing else to add to that.
Any questions from the commissioners? I would entertain a motion.
I don't think there's.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Sorry. I was saying that and I just lost my whole packet and there we go. Well, this sounded good. You have any body comments? I have nothing. Brian?
I'm good, thank you.
Dave?
I don't have anything.
Tony?
No, thank you.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
In a second. Don?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion passed 4-0.